This is Cartoon All-Stars. It was a 30-minute animated public service announcement from the early 90s featuring just about every popular cartoon character of the time, from the Smurfs to Garfield to Alf to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The whole show is about an average teenager who starts smoking pot as this smoke-like character who looks like Steve Buscemi tries to convince him to do more drugs like crack. But then cartoon characters pop out of nowhere and show the effects of drugs on his body. Now, I watched this video when I was about 5, and I honestly had no clue what drugs were, or just what exactly they did to your body. That's possibly due to the fact that the imagery the main character is subjected to by the cartoon characters basically devolves into a surreal nightmare. The only part I enjoyed about it was the fact that all these cartoon characters were together on the same video. It was awesome. It was like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of Saturday morning cartoons. Oh, and for bonus nostalgia points, the video opens up with an introduction from George and Barbara Bush about talking to your kids on the subject of drugs, because it's real important that you talk to your kids about drugs instead of cartoon characters telling them, right? Then we have The Mouse and His Child, and this was easily one of the weirdest, most disturbing cartoons ever intended for children. It rivals even that of Tim Burton or Don Bluth. It's basically the story about a toy mouse who holds his son in his arms, who go on a scary journey through the outside world. Think Toy Story, only much, much more darker. How dark? Well, there's a scene in this film where the mouse and his child are beaten to death by a rat, but somehow the good animals rebuild him. Now, I think it's weird enough that you watch a toy die and then get put back together. I don't even want to question how the mechanics of that work, but isn't that like lying to your children? I know it sounds like a bit much for me to be questioning the dynamics of this cartoon, but death, torture, and corruption are around every corner in this film. It's just weird. Now here's a weird cartoon I actually like. It's called Coonskin, and it's kind of like a parody of Song of the South. It's a pretty exaggerated film to say the least, with lots of racial character designs, gang violence, and sex. It's a rarely heard of cartoon because the film was eventually pulled from theaters in 1975 by the Congress of Racial Equality, but interestingly enough, the NAACP actually endorsed this film. The film eventually made it to VHS in a version that was recut and retitled Street Fight. However, the company who distributed it is long gone and nobody else has picked it up for a DVD release. Now, why is this film not on DVD yet? It's certainly one of Ralph Bakshi's most controversial films, so that's all the more reason for it to come out on DVD, right? I've even heard rumors that the Wu-Tang Clan wants to make a sequel to Coonskin. Well, I think we should get the original on DVD first before we start talking about a sequel. But if they do release it on DVD, I hope they call it Coonskin because there already exists a film called Street Fight that deals with a similar subject. You know what animated show I really missed though? Bob and Margaret. It was a Canadian animated sitcom about a middle-aged British couple that was filled with lots of odd and very adult jokes involving sex and violence. I really wish Paramount, the American distributor of Bob and Margaret, would finally get off their butts and release it already. Even more so because the VHS tapes they put out have the episodes that are actually uncut. Now, this show was pretty adult and got away with showing a lot on television, including nudity and blood. But actually hearing Margaret swear in a key scene from one episode without being bleeped was just awesome. So while both Coonskin and Bob and Margaret deserve to be on DVD, I'd still like to see Cartoon All-Stars and The Mouse and His Child make it to DVD as well. I mean, Cartoon All-Stars is almost like a benchmark in cartoon television history, and The Mouse and His Child is worth watching just for its sheer creepiness alone. And that's all I got to say about these tapes.